welcome back to another stream. We are going to continue Hakuoki Edo Blossoms and hopefully maybe finish Heske's line. Who knows? We'll see. If we actually finish with this one, and then we're gonna, whatever route I get at the end, we'll either go back and do the good ending, non-requited love ending, and bad endings, whatever. So, gonna go ahead and get started here. Alrighty. Our arrival in Sende was greeted with a foreboding silence, the sound of wind hissing into empty corners. The city was unusually calm, distinctly lacking any sign of townspeople or activity for miles. It was, by all normal counts, a perfectly bright and unassuming afternoon. Nightfall was doubly disconcerting as the darkness only amplified how unsettling the dead silence was. No trace of life caught our attention, not a single voice nor a single light flickering in the lined arrangement of houses adjacent to the street. It disturbed me to think that the city owned owed its lifelessness to Sonin and his vile band of furies. Sure is quiet. You could say that again. I hope everyone's just locked up indoors, but Sonin envisioned a fury kingdom, one that required the sacrifice of hundreds of innocent people. Were we seeing the fruits of his vision firsthand? Also, sorry about going on break really quick. I was talking to my roommate. And also realized I had it unmuted. We'd stumbled onto the main road, and the only sounds we'd heard were the distant clap of our echoing footsteps. If I hadn't known any better, I would have assumed that every single resident in the city had died. Just then. Huh? I felt a spooky presence behind me, as if an apparition brushed against the back of my knees. The feeling of being watched was palpable, and suddenly my feet felt rooted to the ground. It was a fear with which I'd become all too familiar. Hesuke became privy to my nervous energy. Reflexively, he grabbed a hold of his sword. Kanai, hide behind me! Hesuke's scream alarmed me, and I heard the metallic screech of his sword leaving a scabbard. Forgive me. Two pairs of ferocious red eyes spotted us, glaring at us from across the dimly lit pathway. Blood! Give me blood! There was nowhere to turn, and the Furies zealously reached for their swords before lunging at us. Take that, you fools! Hesuke swatted them back coolly, narrowly avoiding their aggressive approaches with well-timed footwork. After ducking to dodge an incoming strike, Hesuke whipped his sword around and sliced its sharp edge across the chest of his unguarded opponent. Hesuke, no! Entering a fury and opening its flesh will only attract more furies with the scent of its blood. Hesuke suddenly paused, stepping backwards. His eyes darted behind him, seeking an opportunity to run. Kanai, this way! Hesuke grabbed my wrist and whisked me away. Spilling blood was the surest way to draw in the unstoppable ire of the Furies lurking within the shadows. Hesuke led me into a tight, narrow alleyway, and we shimmied to the other side, passing through what looked like to be an abandoned home in our escape. Hesuke and I hid quickly in areas such as these, desperately holding our breaths to avoid detection. Are they gone? Yes, I think so. Say, tonight's the night that Amagiri's supposed to distract all the Furies and get them away from the castle, right? According to Kazuma, yes. I think we've still got some time before the moon reaches its zenith. Sendai Castle was some distance away, and I wanted to err on the side of caution as I played the scenario on my head. Uh-oh. Suddenly, Hesuke dropped to his knees, clutching madly at his abdomen in an abrupt outburst. Hesuke! Damn it. Just doesn't quit, does it? Well, I mean, we've been giving him blood all the way up until this point, so why not? I reached for the kodachi on my hip. I braced myself, swiftly sliding the sharp blade against the surface of my skin to split my wrist open. Hesuke. No words were needed. By now, Hesuke had become intimately familiar with this process, and I stuck out my bloody wrist. He hurriedly put the open wound to his drooling mouth. I felt the sting of his eager tongue softly tracing circles in varying speeds. Somehow, I had become in sync with the rhythm of his breathing, how the pinching sensation of blood entering his mouth made me shiver from head to toe. Thanks. I've already told you, there's no need to thank me. Strangely enough, this ritual had become a source of comfort. To think that I played some role in maintaining Hesuke's sanity was enough to satisfy me. In a way, the dull ache felt by the suckle of my wound was enticing, something I began to crave myself. My blood is yours to take whenever you need it. As long as you never tire of it, it is yours. Forever. Feeling any better? I guess. Well, your skin's a lot less pale than earlier, at least. Although his face still looked as though most of the color had left it. You have no idea how happy I am to see you okay. Earlier, writhing in so much pain, I'd seriously begun to think that you might not make it out of this one. Hesuke glanced at me pensively. If it weren't for you, I would have died a long time ago. Oh! Oh, that's so cute. Every time you're right by my side, keeping me safe. What? It's not like that at all. Trust me, I didn't do anything special. What? Come on. Take some credit for once. You've saved my skin on multiple occasions. Jeez. Even back before I became a Fury. Hesuke plopped to sit on the floor beside me, crossing his arms over his knees as he spoke. Our shoulders nearly brushed together, which made my heart race slightly. We basked in this moment together, quietly. There's something I've been thinking over recently. I've been wondering what use there is to living if I can't go 5 minutes without sucking on someone's blood like a monster, you know? Or else I'd die. What? No, Hesuke, why? You're no monster, Hesuke. For any of this, before the water of life, or even afterwards, you've always been Hesuke. So please, don't tear yourself down like that. I had committed myself to being frank with Hesuke. He scrunched his nose, offering no immediate response. Instead, he smiled peacefully. Oh, yay. I had a feeling you'd say something like that. But I am a monster. I'm really no different from any of the Fury Corps, or hell, anyone that found us just a little bit earlier. But to my credit, there is something I've got that they don't. And what's that? Hesuke suddenly locked his eyes with mine. For the first time in a long while, I sensed no hint of doubt behind them, and they pierced me so intensely, it felt as though I'd been shot in the heart. What was Hesuke talking about? My heart began to race gradually, pounding inside my chest, when Hesuke whispered coolly to me, I've got you, Kanai. You've stuck by me through thick and thin all this time. He flashed a wide, kind-hearted grin. His words replayed endlessly in my head, bestowing a saturine warmth in my heart. Me? I suddenly became so overcome with feelings of affection that I struggled to believe this was real. It was as if I'd been dropped into a dream, almost needing to pinch myself in order to prove otherwise. So you like having me around, Hesuke? Yeah, of course. Do you need me? Without a doubt. In the same way that Furies can't live without drinking blood, Hesuke rested his chin upon his hand, carefully thinking of what words to choose. I could practically feel his cool breath tickle my cheek when he spoke, and when I took solace knowing that this moment mattered to him as much as it did to me. He looked down, clasping my hand tightly with his. I can't live without you. His hand trembled anxiously. Truth is, I'm terrified to think that there'll come a day when I'll no longer hear the sound of your voice. So maybe it'd be better for you to find someone you deserve. A man who can offer you a future outside of all this. But even so, I'm haunted by the notion that I could lose you someday. So please, don't ever leave me, okay? Ever since Hesuke drank the water of life. No, before that, Hesuke had been in constant conflict with negative thoughts festering inside of him. Aww. This is just so stinking cute. For so long, he had kept them buried underneath this veneer of well-meaning positivity. But the truth was, he was terrified of admitting that one day he would pass, leaving me to wander the remainder of my life without his company. Perhaps this was why he had been so reluctant in sharing his feelings with me. Somehow, he had managed to conquer the negativity inside of him, and all of a sudden, I felt complete knowing he trusted me enough to confide in me. My name felt safe in his mouth. I'd finally heard what I had only dreamt of for years. With a strong resolution, I gripped his hand. I lost myself in the the warm, colorful sea of his gorgeous eyes, letting myself imagine that I was floating in a peaceful drift upon his irises. Hesuke's body tensed nervously in surprise, but he suddenly drew closer to my face. Words became unnecessary. When our lips met, I could feel it tingle all the way down the base of my spine. A sensation that eclipsed what mere words could convey. We accessed an unseen part of one another. Had anyone else in my entire life ever loved me as much as he did? Would my lips be able to reach his heart in the same way that his so effortlessly coaxed mine? I was in the sky, and he was the stars. Oh, I was the sky, and he was the stars. His shining touch reaching every surface of my sun-kissed skin. Together, we were becoming one. His arms melted into the small of my back. Don't come in when I try to read that kind of stuff, Laura. Hello. Don't say that when you first come in. Trying to hold it together, man. I was unexpectedly drawn to him, craving more and more of his touch with each passing moment. You can hold me closer. It's okay. I'm here. I'll always love you, Hesuke. He gazed at me on the verge of tears. We were uncertain when exactly, if at all, his mind would lose its touch with reality. For all we knew, it was tomorrow, and his body would crumble to ash like the burned tip of an incense candle. Shh, Laura, hush. I savored his kiss, knowing it very well could have been our last ever. I became privy to the overriding fear of solitude that, for so long, had gripped Hesuke. But from this day forth, he no longer had to fear. My heart belonged to him, no matter what, and I vowed to myself that I would never leave him. The moment our lips finally parted, I held him close to my body, soaking in every bit of his warmth. I nestled into his neck, letting him know that he no longer needed to be afraid. Whatever the future had in store for us, I wanted to cherish this moment, freezing it in our mind's amber. Okay, I gotta skedaddle for just a moment. I'll be right back. complications in the house. Complications. After ensuring that we were safe to come out, Hesuke and I resumed our sneaking around Sendai. Beside the front gates of Sendai Castle, Hesuke and I crept behind bushes. Our eyes focused on the Sendai warriors patrolling back and forth around the gate perimeter. Looks like they've got a lot of eyes out here. What should we do? Let's rule out doing a straightforward charge. Might be a little too reckless. Sanen's the type to lure you into a false sense of security, though. No doubt taking the side entrance is even riskier than going through the front door. I wonder where Himigiku's at. Remember her telling us that she checked the castle for any hidden entrances. No, not really. Just them traveling a little bit to more in Sendai, but nothing super major. Both of us became startled by the sound of footsteps approaching from a short distance away. Oh no, had we been caught by a fury? I shuffled my eyes back and forth, nervously searching for the source of the footsteps, and I nearly screamed. The guests of honor have finally arrived. How naughty of you to have kept me waiting. Oh, come on, no. Nope. No one likes you, Sonnen. Sonnen? Here I grew concerned that one of you would have gone cold feet and fled for the hills. How I relished the thought of being surprised. Quite bold of you to show, Hesuke. Bolder than I thought. Sonnen was almost unrecognizable. He was clothed in a Western uniform, but there was something familiar about his expression, as if he had preserved an earlier part of himself, like Hesuke had said, that lured us into a sense of security. This familiarity, I soon realized, was part of his cunning, sadistic self, and my hair stood thinking that we had foolishly wandered into one of his traps. I must say, I'm rather impressed. I hadn't thought you bold enough to bring Yukimura along as well. If it were just the two of us, Todo, I assure you that your chances of surviving would be slim to none. A delicious prospect indeed. Asking Yukimura to serve as a witness to your death seems cruel, does it not? Whatever you say, pal, she's not here for your amusement. She's here with me. Gotta say, Sonnen, not surprised to see you've kicked your feet up at Sendai Castle like you own the place. Not too shabby even for you. You jest, but it is mine in all but name. Take it in. This is where my new kingdom shall be built. Kingdom? Sonnen, is it truly your wish to create this Fury Kingdom? Sonnen gestured towards Sendai Castle with his chin, which had been surrounded by a visible layer of what appeared to be a poisonous miasma. The same eerie sensation I felt sneaking through the deserted city of Sendai came flooding back to me. Had Sonnen planned to surround the entirety of the country in this toxic fog? Was corrupting the whole of a town or a domain not enough for him? This chilling thought made my spine tingle. So, Sonnen, what's your role in all this? You think you'd be a good king? Doesn't suit you too well. How appropriate of you to notice. Can we just, not, Sonnen? Just go away. As I've already mentioned, the leader of this kingdom will be the princess. What? Sen would never agree to such a thing. It is only a matter of time, my dear. I have been feeding her my blood in daily increments, slowly bending her into her true potential. You're nuts. There's just no convincing you to let it go, is there? And if I asked you nicely? You take me for quite the fool, don't you? Hesuke no longer intended to mince words, drawing his sword from its sheath with impunity. Alright, you're lost. Guess that means I'm gonna have to do this the hard way. The smug grin on Sanin's face suddenly disappeared, and he turned to face the ground somberly. Todo, I cherished you more than anyone else. You were a brother to me above all. We were very similar, you and I. We served in the same unit, drank the same serum, and learned to navigate the intricacies, oh my god, I can't say that word, of life as Furies together. I wondered to myself what caused such a significant rift in our friendship. Sanin's eyes thinned silently, and he took a timid step forward. His movements reminded me of a snake, gradually slithering towards its weakened prey. We were kindred spirits alike in more ways than you could fathom. Why, oh why did you have to change? The glow of Sanin's red eyes unsettled me, staring into the depths of my soul with a sudden glare. Is it her? Is all this Yukimura's doing? She has led you astray, my friend, manipulating you to a path of self-destruction, falsely leading you with emotion rather than reason. Oh my god! Sanin! What the frick, dude? Ah, dude. The only one who just changed is you, Kesuke Sanan. I'm having issues trying to talk today, jeez. Hesuke screamed bitterly at his old friend, kicking the floor the moment the words escaped his mouth. Sanan left his head exposed, unfazed by Hesuke's reaction, even as the latter came barreling towards him with a sword in hand. Hesuke swung his sword downwards, only to be thwarted by the flick of Sanin's wrist deflecting the attack. Been practicing our fencing, have we? An amateur attempts, no doubt, but decent for you, I suppose. Sanin took pleasure in taunting Hesuke. Just then, a flurry of voices and panic uproared from another side of the castle gate. From within the castle, I heard the chaotic scramble of Furies racing to and fro. Huh? Another petulant outburst from the princess, isn't it? So be it. Sanin's eyes and hair returned to their original color, and he calmly put distance between us. Are you running away from me, Sanin? Until later, my friend. Okay, you can't just do that, Sanin. I have more pressing matters to attend to, so forgive me for not killing you sooner. Sanin spun on his heels and turned around. With a kick of his foot, he leapt high into the air, jumping over the castle gates to safety. What the hell just happened? I don't know, but Sanin just mentioned the princess, didn't he? So that must mean... Hopefully it was an indication that Sen was safe, or at the very least, alive. Gotta follow him. There's no telling what he'll do while we've got him cornered. If we leave him unchecked, there's no limit to what tricks he'll pull on us. I'm afraid you're right. Dick move. Yes, I agree. Can we just end him, please? Can he just be gone and ended? Hesuke Hesuke and I were hidden a short distance away from the castle gate, watching the waves of furies coming and going from its fortified interior. After what seemed like an eternity, all of the furies seemed to have left the castle and entered the city. Was this the riot that Kazuma talked about? Alright, I think that's our cue to sneak in. Okay. Perhaps Kazuma hadn't fed us false information, and this truly was our chance to enter the castle. This feeling of relief was fleeting, however. Sonnen possessed such an unbreakable calm, leaving me to wonder what he had up his sleeve. I could only imagine, despite how many furies had left the castle, how many still remained within. There was no telling at what point Hesuke could potentially exhaust all of his remaining lifespan, attempting to kill them in battle. Just then, it was there! Hesuke shifted his feet to get into an offensive stance, startled by a rustle from a nearby tree. To our surprise, it was... Apologies if I frightened you. The two of you made it. Yay, Kimikiku! Kimikiku! So if you're here, does that mean you found a secret entrance? Yes, but sneaking around this gathering of furies proved even more difficult than I imagined. Please come this way. Kimikiku led us to a dried-up well which, upon closer inspection, turned out to be a false door. Although to the naked eye, it was totally unassuming. At the base of the well, there was a narrow drainage chute that led into the side of the castle. Wow, you really could get into the castle from here, huh? This castle had allegedly been built during the Warring States period. Given the constant volatile nature of those battles, it seemed fitting to build their own contingency plans. You think we might even find some hidden treasure in there? If my sources are correct, then I believe so. Huh? Wait, really? Allegedly, Lord Masamune Date stored his mass fortune deep within the confines of this large castle in case of emergency. Masamune Date, a military commander during the Warring States period who established the Sendai domain and helped build Sendai Castle. The truth, however, is uncertain. Well, if Sonnen gets a hold of that, then they'd probably complicate things now, wouldn't it? Gotta hurry. Were Sonnen and Sen beyond this point? I took a deep gulp, and I continued crawling on my knees through the moist, narrow chute right behind Hesuke and Kimikiku. Navigating through the cramped space induced a bit of claustrophobia in me, but I held steadfast, pushing all the way through to the end of the castle entrance. Please note that from this point on, we are in the dens of furies. Exercise the utmost caution. We'd entered a dark, confined passageway. The castle was enveloped in a thick, toxic fog, in some ways making it even more terrifying than the chute. A layer of film stuck to my skin, a sensation that distinctly reminded me of blood. Hesuke, are you okay? Yeah, I'm getting the heebie-jeebies, but maybe I should keep that to myself for now. Or forget I said that. I'm getting the heebie-jeebies, but I'm not going to mention it, but I just did. Hesuke. Oh my god, dude. Hesuke pointed to a pile of dismembered fury corpses scattered as far as my eyes could see. Fingers, teeth, and bits of snapped bone were littered beneath our feet, but what caught my attention was the fact that corpses seemed fresh. Who could have done something like this? Well, guess I shouldn't even bother asking, since I think I could think of one person. We followed the trail of blood within the dimly lit catacombs. When we had made our way to the end of the trail, the mystery of who done it was solved. Who better to see us for us to see then? Nice of you to finally arrive. Hi, Kazuma! Kazuma, you made it? Of course. Do you really expect me to permit this disgusting fake to build this so-called Fury Kingdom? Disgusting? You mind watching your attitude? I'm a Fury too, you know. No better alternative springs to mind. Always gotta be a jerk. Well, forget you. I couldn't care less if I had your approval or not. Where's Sonin? Right this way. None of you had better interfere. Could say the same to you. Hesuke and Kazuma bickered like an old married couple. But now that the battle against Sonin was fast approaching, I was so thankful that Kazuma was on our side for once. Kimigiku led the way, and together all four of us treaded further into the castle. Whew! We'd found a large door, and it took a few tries for us to pry it open. But when we did, darkness filled the elegant hall, so black that not even a dozen lanterns could illuminate the shadowy interior. Surprisingly, it was far darker here than within the catacombs, an unnatural curiosity. Continuing to walk down the hall, we saw them, Sen and Sonin together. Yeah, right? Upon closer inspection, Sen's body appeared to be unconscious, leaning slightly upon Sonin's body. A thin trickle of blood drooled from her lips. To me, it was just like the water of life, but I knew it to be worse. It was Sonin's blood. Sonin, was it? I ordered you immediately to back away from the princess. Order me? You are mistaken. I have the impression that you do not have any idea of who I truly am. Oh, Sonin. I am your master's master. To me, you are nothing but a servant, and I expect you to treat me thusly. Mind your tongue, fake. No demon bows to any of your kind. I am not a fake. I am merely a descendant of the demons in the West, and an incarnation of what it truly means to be a Fury. Okay, Sonin. Heh, wait to put yourself on a pedestal. All Furies are the same, just a cursed body that will hunt for blood until it's killed. Incorrect, I am the pure distilled essence of a Fury. But you wouldn't know. We are chosen, not made. Who would do well to understand that? Perhaps, however, there is some hope in you, and with my help, I can unlock your potential. What say you? Do you accept my offer to build this world for our kind, a kingdom for us to rule? Me, a Fury? What a ludicrous proposition. You're a snake of the highest order. Would you order a lion to become a cat? Kazuma seemed fed up with Sonin's behavior, immediately reaching for the hilt of his sword. Sonin averted his gaze coolly over to Hesuke. My offer extends to you as well, I suppose. What say you, Toto? I know the struggle you've endured, your pain, to fend against the tide of bloodlust, overcoming its effects to harness your true power. Pardon me for being forward, but I could easily imagine you becoming a true Fury like myself. Yeah. In the instance where Kazuma is not trying to, like, take you for his bride, he's actually really cool. But all other times but the other times when he's not, he's trying to take you for his bride, he's not. Hesuke is nothing like you, Sanin. Oh, and how do you mean? If you mean to say that he has no taste for blood, then spare me. I've no need for your delusions. That he has survived any of the symptoms of bloodlust at all, that he has persevered any latent sense of self must mean Toto has developed a taste for blood, hasn't he? Hesuke nervously looked towards me all of a sudden. Sanin was right. Unless Hesuke had accepted his hunger for blood, his mind would slowly go insane, and the Hesuke we know would disintegrate beyond recognition. But... Alright, you got me. I've drank blood. But you've got me all wrong. At least I haven't needed to kill anyone to do it. If I have to give into these cravings, then there's only one person I trust whose blood I can drink. Sanin sighed in disappointment. I had so much promise for you, but in the end, you're as naive as ever. Very well then. Unlike you, I shall continue to feast upon the blood of whomever I choose. Of course you will, Sanin, because you're a jerk. And Hesuke's smarter than you, so... Go away, Sanin. Please just go away. Declining my offer sadly means that this is the end for you, given that I've no use for weak furies. Sanin reached his right arm over to grab his sword, then an intimidating aura suddenly radiated from his entire body, his hair changing to a brilliant white. Sorry, the music is always just so fantastic in this. His presence filled the room, paralyzing every inch of my body from terror. As I stood fixed to the ground, I started to tremble in place, my body soon covering itself in sweat. Was this a tree fury, like Sanin had said? Just then, Hesuke kicked at the floor. That is so true, like, it's always during these, like, monologues that you can just, like, be like, boop boop, I stabbeth you. He twirled his blade in a circle, shining in the air in the shape of a crescent moon before striking. However... My, you've improved, Toto. You've studied under the school of Hokushin Ito, had you? Such potential skills that otherwise would have led you to the path of full mastery. Hokushin Ito, a style of swordsmanship made popular in Edo during the early Bakumatsu period. Ito, Sanin, and Todo were students of this style. Hesuke! I instinctively grabbed my kodachi and charged at Sanin with the full weight of my body. You're in my way, Yukimura. Ah! Ow! Sanin sidestepped from me, sneaking a kick into my solar plexus and knocking me against the wall. You okay, Kanai? I'm fine, but even with Hesuke to occupy him, Sanin's reflexes were heightened to a degree that made finding an opening to strike nearly impossible. Impressed yet? See, Toto, you could become all of this and more. Simply shut your mouth and listen to me for once. For once? For once? What the hell? You've been gifted a second chance at life, bequeathed powers that far exceed any being in history, yet you refuse to let them develop. This is your downfall. Ow. Sanin mercilessly kicked at Hesuke's body, the sword still lodged in his forearm. Hesuke! One of Sanin's dull kicks had enough force to knock Hesuke back, involuntarily forcing him to yank his sword from out of Sanin's arm and drop to the floor. Ow! Just thinking of that just like makes me want ow. Damn it. Hesuke wiped his face trying to muster enough strength to stand, but Sanin stepped over him. As Sanin's shadow loomed over Hesuke. I don't mean to interrupt you, but let me show you how underestimating a demon you will be your downfall. Sanin suddenly turned to look over his shoulder in the direction of Kazuma's barking voice. Kazuma stood toward the back of the hall, effortlessly carrying the fainted Sen in his arms. I see. So only with Toto as a distraction did you have any hope of saving the princess, is that it? I have no allegiance to them. That boorish fool beneath you chose to rush in so carelessly, and who am I to deny myself an excellent opportunity? Princess! How glad I am to see you safe! Kimigiku sprinted over to where Kazuma was holding Sen. However... Huh? Sanin seemed completely unfazed, not panicking whatsoever to Kazuma's possession of Sen. No. Kazuma, no! Get away from Sen! What? Kazuma's eyes widened anxiously. Sen, who moments earlier looked limp in his arms, suddenly opened his eyes. And her eyes, and then... Ow. The sound of Kazuma's painful moan was immediately followed by Sen's malicious grin, her cheeks dripping with fresh blood. Kazuma! You bitch. Kazuma collapsed to his knees, his eyes glowing with enmity towards the woman who deceived him. Oh, now we see Sen in her demon form. There stood Sen, with white hair and a pair of radiant golden eyes. In her hand, she held an ornate dagger stained with a film of crimson along its sharp blade. Princess, oh no. My. What was it again you were saying about how demons are far superior to furies? Your hypothesis has been proven false. So sorry to report, but the results speak for themselves. If you'd like to admit how wrong you were, I would be happy to oblige you and have you join us, Kazuma. You make a fitting gatekeeper. You bastard. Spot where he'd been stabbed was discontortedly deep, and it targeted some of his vital organs. True, Kazuma may have been a demon, but his healing powers had their limits, seemingly unlike Sanin's. Blood began to clot through Kazuma's clothing. With his guard down, Sanin found the chance to strike. Oh man. Just then, a short blade was flung at Sanin from behind him, but his reflexes allowed him to catch it in midair. The person who'd thrown the blade was... Hey, a little early to start your victory parade, isn't it, Sanin? It ain't over until one of us is dead. Kanai, you go to the Princess Sen and I'll take on Sanin. Okay, got it. I rushed over to Sen. Sen, are you okay? Do you recognize me? Sen suddenly looked up, stopping herself from lapping up blood splattered on her palms. Her pupils undilated, regaining some sense of self. Princess, please hold yourself together. Kiku? Kanai? Sen no longer had a deranged look on her face, and she touched her cheeks in surprise. What's happened here? I thought Sanin... Slowly, Sen reached her fingers to her temples, rubbing them while she grimaced in pain. Are you okay? Just sit tight. I sprinted to check on her when... No! Don't come any closer to me! She halted me with a stern tone in her voice. If you take another step, there's no telling if I may try to kill you. What should I do? Hesuke, someone whom I adored, was battling for his life only feet away from me. But at the same time, Sen needed immediate medical attention. Before I could decide, Kimigiku walked past me. Please refrain from approaching her. I will deal with the princess. Kimigiku? But what do you plan on doing with her? My duty. If she has in fact turned into a fake, I must perform what is necessary, preventing any further crimes against our people. I must kill her with my own hands. This way, her dignity shall remain intact. Jeez! God damn. Is everyone just gonna die at this point? What? No, you can't! Please, don't kill Sen. She's my friend. She's precious to me. Kanai. Maybe I was making a mistake that would prove costly should she attempt to kill me, but... I gulped nervously, staring at the bewildered Sen. Kanai. Sen, don't give in to the water of life. And don't let Kimigiku kill you. Please. Sen's golden eyes flickered, entering what looked to be herself in her evil form. What are you doing, Princess Sen? Enough wasting time and kill the two of them. Oh god. Ah! That just looks so creepy. Sanin's words triggered Sen's frenzy. Suddenly her pupils dilate with fervor. She tightly gripped the hilt of her dagger, leaping to charge in my direction. She was coming right towards me. Just as I shut my eyes, I heard the sound of her dagger sinking into flesh. However, it wasn't my flesh that her dagger sank into. Oh no! Oh no! Kimigiku, why? Why indeed? You and the princess are so alike, full of heart and recklessness. Sticking out from Kimikiku's ribcage was Sen's dagger, blood oozing from the entrance wound. At first, the wound wasn't fatal. However, watching Sen mindlessly drive her dagger into her old friend's abdomen was worrisome. Kimikiku was steadfast, biting her tongue to refrain from crying out in pain, and she smiled timidly. The princess is our fearless leader, committed to her people, all of whom adore her without question, which sometimes makes it challenging for her to open up, to give her heart to those she holds dear. So although you two share kinship, given your background, what makes you special is that she trusted you with the knowledge that she is a demon. You were the first person she could truly call her friend. Kimikiku's body wavered, and she let out one pained groan before collapsing to the ground. Forgive me, Kiku. The light of intensity left Sen's eyes, replaced by a mournful gaze upon her old guardian. This cannot be. The spell is unbreakable. How could she have regained her senses? Only I can control her. Perhaps I had something to do with the taste of Kazuma and Kimikiku's blood. Give it a rest. The so-called true fury bullshit you've been spewing was worthless. Face the facts. There's no way my creation could be destroyed. It cannot! Sonin's eyes burned with intense rage, directing his hateful glare towards Sen and me. As you wish. If it is the bond between yourself and Princess Sen that has ruined my plans, then I will slaughter every last one of you with impunity, as well as everyone she has ever met, anyone who has so much as thought of her. With her at my side, I can multiply my furies by 10-fold, 100-fold even. And even if I fail, I will retain control of the demon princess, allow me to influence thousands of demons. Isn't that right, Yukimura? Sonin was seething, crossing the threshold of insanity that meant no return for him. His eyes were fixed on me. When he took a step towards me, Hesuke stood in front of me. Hey, Sonin, pick on someone your own size. Why don't you leave this between you and me, eh? After all, we're practically dead men walking anyways. Stay back, Kanai. Alright, please be safe, Hesuke. I nodded, putting my full faith into him, as I slowly backed myself against the wall in a secluded corner. From here, Hesuke's back had never looked taller, and he stood comfortably in front of Sonin. Hesuke assumed his Seigan position, widening his stance. An offensive sword stance characterized by the lowering of the knees and the pointing of one's blade toward their opponent. In the blink of an eye, Sonin and Hesuke lunged at one another. Hesuke attempted to sidestep Sonin, swinging his blade for Sonin's arm when... Too slow, tired already. You wish, barely breaking us away here. What about you, Sonin? Looks like you're wearing a little thinny there. Running out of energy? Is that your attempt at a joke? Perhaps you're going mad after all. Surely there's no other excuse for your delusions, you imbecile. Sonin cocked his elbow back before stabbing out. Tip of his blade was driven into Hesuke's chest. Hesuke! I warned you. I warned you this would happen. Try as many times as you'd like, but your skill will never hold a candle to mine. Just reading part of this just like makes me pain. So much pain. Sonin twisted his blade, digging it further into Hesuke's chest before turning to look at me. Oh, something the matter, Yukimura? Got no tears left to shed, do you? Even after I murdered the one you love in front of your very eyes. Please don't tell me I got a bad root. I'm going to be so upset if I did. I stared resolutely back at him. I believe in Hesuke. Believe in him? How futile. His time is dwindling. Better say your farewells now. I steeled myself to refrain from panicking. Hesuke wasn't the type of person to back down so easily, and he survived tougher than this. There was no way Son would kill him now. Here I was thinking my charisma could charm anyone. Has no effect on you, does it? So be it. It would be cruel of me to deprive you from one another. So worry not, the two of you will be together very soon. Sonin jiggled the hilt of his sword, which was still stuck in Hesuke's chest, to pull it out. It will not go free. Sonin grew agitated, staring back at Hesuke in shock. Before Sonin had a chance to react, the tip of Hesuke's sword slid across the tatami mat, ripping it as he thrust the blade upwards. It aimed directly for Sonin's heart. Sonin lifted his hand defensively, hoping to block Hesuke's faint attack, but he was too late. The blade in Hesuke's hand was jabbed directly into Sonin's heart, followed by the snap of his chest bone. Ow! Sonin spit up a mouthful of blood, his lips frothing. It dribbled down his chest, trickling into a wide spot on his chest, which, by this time, had been splattered by so much blood it seemed indistinguishable. Impressive, Toto. You managed to kill me with the same technique I performed on you just a second ago. You know, I don't know if I could have pulled that trick on the old Sonin. You think too highly of me. I'm pathetic, always have been. I don't know about that. I mean, man, you had so many chances to take me out. I'm sure you could have killed me if you wanted to. Sonin let out a derisive laugh under his breath. No, I couldn't have. Memory serves me correctly. The impetus behind all of this is I couldn't use my left arm. That's right, Sonin's left arm. While performing his rounds, Sonin suffered a debilitating injury to his arm that effectively ended his tenure as a warrior. It was this arm that convinced him to drink the water of life. Ironic, isn't it? I toiled for so many years, enforcing the standards of the Shinsengumi beside Kondo with a ruthless command. But it was me all along that stayed the name of the Shinsengumi, wasn't it? To the rest of the world, we'd valiantly lost our lives years ago. Your legacy is so much more than that. Ishiri will remember you as a brilliant, kind-hearted tactician whose cunning often preceded him. Foremost as a man who honored the Shinsengumi. Hearing Hesuke speak to him so encouragingly gave Sonin a sense of inner peace, resolving the war that had waged inside of him for too long. Well then, what a relief to hear. I'll be the first one to greet you in the afterlife, Toto. A gentle smile rested easily on Sonin's thin lips, just like how he'd looked when I first met him. He shut his eyes, calmly passing into the next life. Hesuke, are you alright? Yep. He caught me pretty good a couple of times, so it might take a while to heal. Sit still. I'll take a look at it right away. No, it's okay. I'm a fury, so this'll close up in a minute or two. Let me clean the wounds at least, will you? Please. I wiped away the... Blah, 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 blah. I hate words sometimes. I wiped away the coagulated chunks of blood with a thin rag and water from my canteen. Man, did Hesuke always have to be so reckless? One of these days, come back to bite him. Hey, Kunai, what's the matter? Are you crying? I'm not. Nuh-uh, there's no way you're not. Oh, come on, don't cry. Oh, Hesuke. What do you expect, man? I'm not! In spite of my insistence, the tears rolled down my face. Oh man, I'm sorry if I worried you, but hey, you knew what we were getting into, right? Well, yeah, I know that, but still! Hesuke was smiling beside me, jovial as ever. Having him here safe beside me, trading jokes back and forth, was as good as it could ever be. Everyone is safe and accounted for, correct? Kiku, can you stand? Yes, lots of feelings. Yes, ma'am. In due time, my wound should heal itself, no problem. Oh, how are you doing, Kazuma? I feel like I've wasted an entire evening. Spare me your concern. Are you seriously gonna be a jackass after all we've been through? I gotta kill you right here. I ought to kill you right here. Hey, be nice. Without Kazuma, who knows what position we'd be in right now. Well, damn. Guess that sells everything then. It would seem so. Now that Sanen's reign of terror was over, there is no more threat of a Fury Kingdom looming. Hesuke, what are you going to do next? Well, I'll figure it out eventually. As long as I've got you by my side. I think I could keep it together. At least a little better than Sane did. I was so afraid I got a bad ending. Besides, should the worst case scenario happen and I lose my mind, then someone would probably kill me, no problem. Like Mr. Sour Demon over there. Oh, Hesuke. What do I have to gain from squashing little insects like you? Take control of your own life for once. Kazuma turned his back to us, muttering coldly under his breath. I've heard rumors. While researching methods to improve the water of life, Kodo has supposedly accessed a spring hidden deep within the Yukimura clan's village. Once Japan's largest demon clan in its eastern region, its village was viciously wiped out from existence by humans and was once the protagonist's home. Ooh. Interesting. What? If legend serves correctly, then the water of Mutsu has properties that cure the water of life's effects. If somehow you could locate the spring and drink from its banks, perhaps it will serve as an antidote for those fakes tainted by its poisonous symptoms. Kazuma, did you know all that for our sake? I'm not offering charity. My goal was to eradicate every single fake that crosses my path. So go on and see what lies in the land beyond the mountains. Maybe for once I'll get some peace. If you're going to let Todo off the hook, then why not make your intentions more clear? When did I say I was doing that? If he'd rather go insane, then I will gladly show him my sword. Kazuma sped up the ground, turning to walk away from us in the castle. Oh, hey, wait, Kazuma! God, how much more idiocy must I endure? Alright then, Out with it, you. Really? You always gotta whine, don't you? I'm not gonna lie, I love this banter between them. Just makes it so much better. Well, fine, you're lost. I'm only gonna say this once, so you better listen carefully. Thanks for letting us know about that spring. I appreciate it. Couldn't hear you. Come again. Liar, there's no way you couldn't hear me just now. Bah, you're never gonna hear from me again. I'm not gonna lie, I do like Cosma in this route. I do like him in this route. It seemed that not even fighting together for their lives could keep Cosma and Hesuke from bickering. Watching the two of them exchange playful banter coaxed tears of joy from all of us. And afterwards... Kanai, to what destination do you plan on leaving from here? Do you plan to go into Yukimaru Village, just as Kazuma has suggested? Yes, I think that's where we're off to next. Maybe I'll pay the Shinsengumi a visit first, though. Very well. Then expect me to drop by from time to time. It's rather quaint. It's a rather quaint, harmonious village. Okay. Please feel free to come by whenever you'd like. You are always welcome. Following the Battle of Sendai, we traded our goodbyes, leaving behind the castle and all of its hurtful memories in our wake. Boo boo boo. August 1868. Once we'd made our way back to the Shinsengumi from Sendai, Hijikata warmly welcomed Hesuke and me, although he'd never say it to our faces. Lines of worry stretched across his forehead, and judging by his enthusiasm to greet us, it seemed like he'd been waiting to hear what had become of us. As we recounted the events back to him, Hijikata was receptive, taking all of it in with a gentle smile. Hesuke, Yukimura, two of you did great. Sorry for having you clean up after that mess for us. No, don't be. I think that was the one... I think that I was the one who had to perform the deed myself. I mean, if I ever gave into all those negative feelings and let them tear me apart, then I may have ended up the same as Sanin. Then Hesuke glanced over at me. I didn't go mad thanks to you. Or at least, that's what he said through his eyes. Following the pause, Hijikata's tone dropped low, his voice hovering barely above a murmur. How was he? Sanin, I mean, in his final moments. Well, I think he reverted back to his original self as he edged closer to his death. He fondly recalled a memory, thinking back to the days when he was only human. I see. Hijikata lowered his gaze to the floor, perhaps reflecting upon happier times he'd shared with Sanin. What stuck out as poignant to me was Sanin's memory of the Shinsengumi's early days, thinking back to how loyally he'd served both Kondo and the group. The guilt and sorrow Hijikata must have felt for ordering the death of his longtime friend was unimaginable. However, there wasn't much time to linger on the past. For now, Hesuke and I had one last journey to make. So, Hijikata, how's the rest of the Shinsengumi been since we've last seen you? Well, strap in. According to Hijikata, they were on the losing end of a devastating war, which only seemed to worsen day by day. Although he could rely on both Saito and Shimada to lead their troops, mounting offensive charges that worked successfully in their favor. Other divisions weren't so lucky. So, does that mean for the rest of you now? What does that mean for the rest of you now? Well, it's not just ourselves we've got to look out for anymore. So it's a little hard to say at the moment. Although he would never admit it, it seemed like Hijikata was at the end of his rope, desperately searching for recruits to strengthen their numbers. Hijikata snuck a glance at Hesuke. Perhaps he was considering asking him to join, even if Hesuke could have turned to ash on the battlefield. However, our minds had already been made up. Hijikata, I need to speak with you. You see... Hey, hold on, Kanai. I should be the one to tell him, right? Hesuke turned from looking at me to facing Hijikata, carrying a look of certainty in his eyes. Hijikata, I understand better than anyone just how dire things are for the Shinsengumi right now. But if I may, let me say this. I'm leaving the Shinsengumi and taking her with me. We expected Hijikata to throw a fit or roll his eyes and call us idiots, but instead, he sat quietly. Kondo, Okita, Yamazaki, Inoue, Harada, and Nagakura. In such a short span of time, Hijikata was forced to say goodbye to so many of his old friends. So now it's your turn to lead the Shinsengumi, huh, Hesuke? Are you putting your sword behind you? I think so. I've dedicated my entire life to fighting. The only thing I had ever thought to expect out of life was to serve my country until it killed me. Baby boy has become baby man. But ever since I had become a fury, I realized there's so much more to it. I mean, hell, I almost believed that becoming a fury was what I was destined to be. Convinced myself that if I was brought back to life to fight, that's all I'd ever wanted. I'll ever be good for. Hesuke shut his eyes in reflection, quietly turning the events of the past few years over in his head. He took a deep breath and opened his eyelids before turning to face me again. But after spending every day beside her, it hit me. I might not be human anymore. There's so much more to life than what I do with my sword. I see. Never expected you to have the balls to say that to me, so I assume you've got somewhere in mind. Yes, we're going to head for the village where I was born, the Yukimura village. Supposedly, there may be a wellspring hidden within the mountains that could cure Hesuke's condition. Yeah, and if there's even so much as a hint of a possibility that a cure exists out there somewhere, then I want to do everything it takes to find it. Right now, I don't want to die on some battlefield. I want to spend every moment of my life with her. Oh, so cute! Hijikata shut his eyes in contemplation, thinking quietly to himself as I twiddled my fingers. It was a lofty request, one that I anticipated was too nuanced to answer quickly. After a prolonged silence, Hijikata opened his eyelids again, turning to ask me a question. Yukimura, you satisfied with that? Yes, absolutely. I nodded firmly, staring back at Hijikata with confidence. I feel comfortable enough to say this now, but when I first encountered the Shinsengumi, all of you seemed so intimidating to me. But the more I came to spend time with each one of you, I began to understand. All of you laughed, cried, and fought together, weathering life's challenges as one unit. Before I knew it, the Shinsengumi had carved a very special place in my heart. But what I feel for Hesuke surpasses all of that. And because of how strongly these emotions run through me, I want to settle down with him. Together, we could search for a way to improve his health, no matter how long it takes. That's what I want too. Hesuke was going to expand upon what I had said, but Hijikata interjected almost immediately. Hesuke, Yukimura. Everything you reported to me is true. That means the demons will no longer be working with the Imperials, right? Yes, we believe so. No more demons. Now the Furies are dead too. Well then, I guess there's no reason for either of you to stick around here anymore. As of the Aburano Koji incident, Hesuke has been long pronounced dead, and practically no one knew that Yukimura was ever associated with us. So go wherever the hell you want. Do as you please. Aww, Hijikata, I love you. Aww. Hijikata wore a relaxed expression, speaking with a plain tone of voice. I suppose this was his send-off. On paper, it seemed impersonal, but for us, it meant so much more. Despite the imminent threat of war still hovering just beyond the horizon, Hijikata sat with us, sending us off warmly to his own reserved way. When Hijikata nodded with the go-ahead, Hijikata, thank you for all the years we spent together. Yes, thank you. No other words captured how we felt immediately. Wow, so this really is goodbye then, huh? It was becoming real, meaning that we would have to bid farewell to our entire lives thus far for wherever our journey would take us. For Hesuke, who had served the Shinsengumi for far longer than I did, I could only imagine what had been going through his mind at the time. Peeking from the corner of my eye, I took a glimpse at him, noticed that he had already been staring in my direction, and our eyes locked together. What's the matter? Oh, well, I just wanted to ask you one last time. Ask me what? Are you sure you won't regret this? It was a heavy question to which I wondered if I'd ever truly know the answer. But for now, of course I won't. Because the only priority I have is spending the rest of my life with you, Hesuke. Come what may, no matter what happens beyond this point, I could never regret this decision. I gave him my purest, widest smile. Deep in my heart, I knew that. Happiness without you isn't happiness at all. Gotcha. Well, I had a feeling you'd say something like that. He's so cute. But I wanted to hear the words straight from you. Yeah, I guess there are some things that mean more when they're said in person. Yeah, actually, I've got one. It's a little hard to find the right time to say this, but there's something I've been meaning to tell you. Hesuke went suddenly quiet. His puppy dog eyes quivered, gazing into my soul. His body shifted timidly, like he wasn't mustering the courage to tell me what he had wanted to say. And then he whispered softly into my ear the words that I had wanted to hear more than anything. Kanai, I love you. Aww. I mean it. No other woman has ever come close to giving me butterflies in my stomach like you do. Not even in my wildest dreams could I think of someone more perfect for me than... I love you. Thank you. Thanks for always putting up with me, for believing in me, and for never, ever leaving my side. Hearing the words from his mouth made me feel like I'd been lifted into the sky to rest upon a bed of clouds. He was so thoughtful and sweet. I couldn't help but shed a tear. All those moments I spent watching him suffer to torture of bloodlust. To suffer the torture of bloodlust. Even with the tumult agonizing his body and mind, I wanted him to know how much I would have done anything to support him. And now, all those moments were validated. Hey, Kanai, are you crying? Oh man, I didn't say the wrong thing, did I? I didn't mean to make you cry. Aw, Hesuke. He's still a goober. No, sorry. I just... What you just said touched me so. You have no idea how much that means to me. Hesuke inched his fingers to my hair nervously, gently stroking the threads in a playful manner. Then he looked back in my eye. As long as it brings you happiness, and I will say it over and over and over every day. So, try your tears, okay? They are so cute! God damn. The next day, we started our goodbyes. Time went by in a flash, as we spent the day bidding each of our friends in the Shinsengumi farewell. My heart grew heavy, realizing there were so many members who'd left an impression on me that I wouldn't be able to greet, but our departure couldn't be delayed any longer than it already had been. Wanna set out, Kanai? Okay, let's go. As we exited the compounds, a full moon dazzled brilliantly in the sky, illuminating the entirety of the path ahead of us, a sign of good fortune, hopefully. Considering Hesuke's condition, it was pressing for us to leave by midnight to cover the most ground, meaning most of the men were likely asleep by then. We had figured this to be the easiest option, given that, for all intents and purposes, Hesuke and I essentially no longer existed in the Shinsengumi. It gave us the perfect opportunity to perform a discreet exit, thinking no one would see us off when... Hey, you guys. Aw. The hour was late. I've been expecting you much earlier. Indeed, I expect an apology for waiting so long. The least you could do is let us send you off. Hijikata, Saito, and Shimada? Todo, Miss Yukimura, you two are heartless. Were you really planning to leave us hanging without saying goodbye like that? Both of you, for all the memories and laughter we've shared together. Oh, you guys, it's not like that. Weren't you busy earlier? Well, it wasn't for the lack of trying. No harm would have come taking the time to wish our friends farewell before their next chapter. After the two of you had left for Sendai, we had no way of knowing what became of you. It brings me so much joy to see you return safely. More importantly, please look out for each other. I love Shimada. He's just so sweet. Same for all of you, too. Yeah, that's what we should be telling you guys, since you're gonna go off to war soon. A true statement. It is unlikely that we will be leaving the battlefield anytime soon. You two, however, have fought enough, conquering both your adversaries and your inner demons. No one is more deserving of rest than you two. Live well. Aw, Saito. We will. Thank you for everything. Don't have to tell me twice. Thanks. Hijikata silently observed us banter with his men. He looked more like a chaperone than a participant in the send-off party, offering nothing to say. Well, time for us to go. Okay. We waved to our friends, turning our backs when... Take care, will you? Aww. Couldn't say it to our faces, Hijikata? Really? My ears perked as it heard a message carried by the tender midnight's winds. They They're so cute. Ever since that fateful evening when I first encountered the Shinsengumi, my life underwent so much change. It was somewhat of a sinking feeling to think about how this period of life had flown by me, and that I may never see any of these people ever again. But... Hey, Hesuke. What's up? I loved almost every second of my life with the Shinsengumi, and all the faces along the way. Memories of our time came flooding back to me. In spite of their reputation, the Shinsengumi navigated pressures felt by the shogunate and other domains with aplomb, working so hard to spread their name. They even overcame internal strife as new members entered the fold. At one point, Hesuke left the Shinsengumi to join the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb. I remembered the haunting scene of Hesuke shivering in a pool of blood after the Aburano Koji incident, which led to him drinking the water of life. How he triumphed over the former colonel of the Shinsengumi in a one-on-one duel. It was difficult to believe that all of this and more had occurred in the span of 4.5 years. Same. My life here, everything we saw and did, I don't think they'll ever leave me. We lived to tell the tale, and at last, we could smile knowing that we withstood all of these trials together, walking hand in hand towards our bright future. I met the Shinsengumi, tense and fearful under the sheen of ominous moonlight, but this time, this moonlight was soft, glimmering above us as we waved our friends in the distance goodbye. Summer 1868. Ah! It's so stinking cute, I can't, man. By the way, all this music in this game, still fantastic. I got the happy end! Thank God, I didn't want to have to play all that over again. Like, I'm going to anyways, but I can just, like, zoom past most of it. Because we're going to look at the other endings. Unlike how... I mean, we saw most of the endings in the other one, but... I got scared there for a minute because I thought I got the bad ending. Or whatever ending that was. Like, I got so scared because I thought I did bad. Aw, man, I passed it. I didn't do that on purpose, I promise. I was trying to turn up the volume and it didn't work, apparently. You can go back and watch it if we need to, but... Whew. As we traveled a little further, word made its way through the grapevine to us. Following Sanen's occupation of Sendai, the domain went into chaos before eventually collapsing. Suffering the loss of its key member, the Northern Alliance had no means of recovering, and the country ushered in a new age of government imperialism. The war reduced the lives of thousands to whispers that vanished in the roar of bombastic cannon fire. Although the country was going to experience a period of tumultuous change, We were safely out of reach within the rural pastures we called home. In the place of my birth, Yukimoto Village, time ticked slowly over meadows as far as the eye could see. Heisuke's body, too, had experienced so much stress and change. The fresh bodies of water and crisp, clean air did wonders, it seemed, to slowly reverse the effects of his affliction so that he could live comfortably. Over time, his episodes grew further and further apart from each other. And soon, before we knew it, he was able to bask the pleasant rays of sunshine once more. Yay! Every now and then, I'd catch him sprawled across the tall grass, napping under the shade of an old tree, sleeping soundly like he hadn't a care in the world. Soon, it became a daily ritual, his head resting peacefully on top of my lap as he dozed off. The weather was often so fair and temperate that I often caught myself falling asleep right next to him, leaning back into the tree trunk as I held him close. This day was another one of those days, the breeze tickling my cheek as I fondly remembered our past. I remember being in the common room, Kondo and Hijikata standing in front, loudly gesticulating. Okita and Saito stood just behind them. Nagakura and Harada would joke off to the side, and the rest of the men stood proudly around them. And of course, I was slow to open my eyelids, sensing the glint of sunlight between my thinned eyes. Oh. My smile carried from my dream into my waking state, opening my eyes to the serenity around me. Oops. Oh, oops. Did I fall asleep? Yeah. He looked real snug and cozy. It was so adorable watching how relaxed you were as you sleep. Normally I would have rushed to tidy up my hair, but for some reason I wasn't bothered by it at all. I turned lightly, nestling more comfortably in his lap, and looked at him as I muttered aloud. I dreamt of the past. I saw Kondo and Hijikata and everyone else too. What about me? Was I sitting next to you? I can't recall. Part of me wants to say I saw you there at first, but somewhere in the middle, you left. I fluttered my hands upwards, as if chasing after the wisp of a dream floating above my head. Heisuke kindly caught my hand, holding it tightly. His hands were so small, yet so firm. They were his, and I loved their every touch. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. As the sun rises, and as it falls, and under the moonlight, I will never leave you, and even if one day something tries to pull us apart, my heart will always be yours to keep. Oh no! Why? It's cute. Why are they so cute? Oh, so stinking cute, man. So cute. Alrighty, give me one sec. I gotta open up things so I can get the other endings. other endings. I said openings. I don't know why I said openings. I meant endings. Okay, so should we do the bad ending first, the unrequited ending, or the endings for the other chapters first? So there is a lot to look at now. Making me make choices, darn it. Okay, let's just do the unrequited ending first. So let's see. Heske, chapter 4 says, low romance, low corruption. And we're just gonna like blaze through it until we get to the points that either something is kind of new or, yeah, just when something's kind of new. I'm gonna blaze through it as fast as possible. Meow. Meow. Okay. Says give him blood, okay. Okay, so this one's gonna be slightly different now. I'm wondering what use there is to living if I can't go 5 minutes without sucking on someone's blood like a monster, you know, or else I'd die. This one, you're doing what you can to survive. What are you talking about, Heske? You're just doing what you can to survive, aren't you? It's not fair for you to beat yourself up for something like that. So please, don't give up. Yeah, sure, but for what? I might be living now, but what about tomorrow? Or the day after? Sooner or later, my time's gonna run out, right? Can't just ignore all of it, that. Ultimately, Sonnen and I are very similar. Him, all of the Fury Corps, and even those Furies we found earlier. I'm just a goddamn Fury. But, to my credit, there is something I've got that they don't. And what's that? Heske suddenly locked his eyes with mine. For the first time in a long time, I sensed no hint of doubt behind them. They pierced me so intensely, it felt as though I'd been shot in the heart. Okay. And this is where it starts being the same. Near. problem is there's so much stuff that's like the same that... Everything's rapid fire for the most part. I'm just trying to figure out... I'm just trying to figure out where it starts divulging from the original one. So I think it might be getting close. I don't know. It's hard to know when a lot of it's the same from what it looks like. Okay, now we're getting into unfamiliar territory. Okay. We're going to rewind it a little bit. Because of that fact. However, just as I got within arm's reach of her, Kimigeku called out to me, stopping me in my tracks. Kanai, you mustn't get any closer. Sen's golden eyes glowed hazily, almost as though she had fallen into a trance. Sen, it's me, Kanai! You remember me, right? Her eyes were unfocused as if they slowly turned to face me. I know that the real Sen's in there somewhere! The bloody dagger dropped from Sen's hand, and she touched her fingers to her temples lackadly. My head... Her voice stammered, and she took slow, clumsy steps backwards. 1 step, 2 steps, then... her body slumped to the floor. Sen! I ran from behind Kimigeku to check on the princess's pulse. Kanai, how is the princess? Well, her pulse is still beating, so I think she'll be okay. She just lost consciousness again. You're absolutely certain. Then that means... all that was left for us to do was to destroy Sanin, once and for all. A voice called out to me, taking me aback. Kanai, take Princess Sen and leave this castle! Uh-oh. What? Why? Don't take this the wrong way, but having you here while I fight is a little distracting. I can't bear to let you get in harm's way. You're telling me this now? Hurry up and go already! Hesuke was trading blows with Sanin, their blades dancing like 2 silver koi fish swirling in a pond. But... so you thought Yukimoto witnessing your true form is something that frightens you, eh? Yet another example of the weakness that will be your undoing. Hesuke attempted a jab, but Sanin nearly dodged it, moving to smack the sword from Hesuke's hand. It ends here! Hesuke! Sanin lowered his knees, readying himself to thrust his sword into Hesuke's heart when... I heard the hair-raising sound of flesh being pierced. I shut my eyes in horror, traumatized by the thought. What? What was that? Had Hesuke been stabbed? I sheepishly opened my eyelids and saw. It humors me to think of how willing you are to forget that I exist, you fake. That voice! Kazuma! Kazuma tightly clutched his sword, twisting the blade as he dove it deeper into Sonin's chest. Sonin, however, hadn't even flinched. Of course. A little premature, isn't it? Shouldn't you let that little scratch on you heal before you even think of taking me on again? Sonin's lips curled into a wry smirk, and he's pulled Kazuma's sword from out of his chest with ease. In this form, I'm not bound by such restraints. Kazuma's sword had just barely missed Sonin's heart, a crushing stroke of misfortune. In the matter of an instant, the profusely bleeding wound on Sonin's chest had healed itself. Kanai, please! Gotta get out of here! Go! But... Listen to him. As long as I am here to help him, no serious harm will come to either of us. The thought of leaving without Hesuke induced a nauseating bout of anxiety, but I had to trust that the two of them, together, would be enough to best Sonin, who demonstrated that his powers were no longer something to ignore. I nodded, accepting Hesuke's offer to leave, but... Promise me, Hesuke! Promise that you'll make it out of this alive, and that you'll win this battle and return to me! Promise! Hesuke, I will wait for you until the end of time. Yeah, I know. As long as Hesuke kept his head, he'd be safe. He would never, ever break a promise to me. Nor had he ever done anything to raise distrust or concern in my eyes. He was a man of virtue. Kimikiko, let's go. Okay, I'll carry the princess. Follow right behind me. Okay. Once more, I turned to face Hesuke, nodding at him. Then, Kimikiku and I sprinted from the hall. We'd flung our legs forward, giving ourselves no chance to catch our breath, to a hall that was pungent with the stink of blood. As I looked down, I locked eyes with a decapitated fury, and I was careful not to slip on any blood. I had to keep running, not allowing myself to look back. We'd been running so frantically that my heart was throbbing fiercely in my chest. Was Hesuke still battling Sonin? I know he'll make it. Just then, something interrupted my line of thought. Princess, you're awake! Kiku, where are we? What are we doing here? Oh, that's right, Sonin. Shitoro and Shikage Kazuma have all worked together to free you from his capture. Really? But then where is Todo and Kazuma? I do not see either of them around. Hesuke and Kazuma will be right behind us in no time. She's right. We need only be patient for their return. I know the real ending, but this still just makes me go, ah! After fleeing hurriedly from the castle, 3 of us waited outside for Hesuke and Kazuma. We stood idly, watching sunlight emerge from beneath the horizon in the sky to the east. Oh no. You don't think anything happened to them? You think anything happened to them? If Sana and the Furies have yet to emerge from the castle as well, and I'm sure that Todo and Kazuma are still safe for now. I'm gonna go and check on them! No, it is imperative that you remain here. If it bothers you so much, I shall go. Kimikiko turned towards the enormous castle doors to make her way inside. Back inside. Wait! Hey, wait! Someone's coming out of the castle! Just as Sen said, a thin figure was walking towards us from inside the castle, sauntering calmly over the dismembered corpses strung along the floor. He had been too far away from me to make out the features of his face, and I became a little nervous. Who was that? Hesuke? Kazuma? Or could it be Sonnen? My stomach began to ache out of anxiety, waiting for the figure to make its final approach, till finally I made it out to be Kazuma? I blurted out his name without thinking, staring at him blankly as he stepped out from the castle doors. Why? I was so confused. Why was Kazuma exiting the castle alone? Why didn't he have Hesuke with him? Hesuke promised me that he would defeat Sonnen and make his way to me. I'm unsure how to put this lightly, but Todo proved himself back there, subduing Sonnen and his furies. So why isn't he here? Perhaps he was exhausted after a long night of fighting, taking a moment to rest before coming out. If I had just waited here, then surely he would greet me with his smile any minute now. However, fighting so fiercely came with a price. With his last bit of strength, his body turned to ash at the end of the battle. Oh no! Oh! Kazuma shattered what little hope I had had left with his emotionless report. What? I would hazard to guess that he hadn't wanted you to witness him in his twilight hour. Suddenly, I felt numb, and Kazuma's words seemed to travel in one ear and out the other. Everything went still, the only other sound being the restless wind brushing against the hillside. Hesuke was dead? There was no body to bury, only ash. I couldn't believe it. He made me a promise. He always kept his word. I didn't even consider the notion of never seeing him again. Kazuma walked up to me, taking my hand in his. Then he placed something small in the middle of my palm. Without looking, I turned it in my fingers. This is a button sewn previously on Hesuke's coat. A dried layer of blood was smattered on top of it. A memento, if you will. Keep it. A deluge of tears came flowing uncontrollably down my cheeks. Hesuke, yes. No, Hesuke was the only person in the world who meant more to me than anything was now just a memory. Oh no! I'm glad that wasn't the first ending we got. Jeez! Sen and Kimigiku offered me a place of refuge in Yase village, but I had to decline their invitation, instead making my way for the Yukimura village, which allegedly had been the place of my birth. From what I'd been told, the village was abandoned, leaving no one there for me to find, but I figured it to be the perfect place to bask in my memory of Hesuke within my heart, alone. Stepping into the village, I was overwhelmed with deja vu, soaking in a quaint, indelible calmness. For once, I felt at home, like my entire life had been leading me back here. My spirit felt in tune with the energy permeating every corner. I wish Hesuke were here with me to see this. Being born and raised in Edo, Hesuke may have found real life to be tiresome after a while. But look, Hesuke, this is where I was born. I gripped the button nestled in my pocket and spoke to him from my heart, wherever he may be. That is so sad. Oof, man. Oof. Just knows how to hurt you, doesn't it? God damn. Great googly moogly. Well, that's a thing. That's a thing. That's just like cars into your heart and just eats you alive. Alrighty. Alrighty, we're gonna do the bad ending for chapter 4 last, then we're gonna go to the other bad endings, whatever, if you will. We'll just kind of do them in order at this point. Chapter 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Woo! Let's see. Low romance and high corruption. Yeah, okay. And and 3, 2, excuse me. 1, go. Meow. Meow. And this is where we go back to try to find things about the Furies and the Water of Life. And found nothing. And then... then Sen comes. Tells us about the results of being a Fury and using the power too much. Turning to ash, blah blah blah. Okay. Ow. That's actually very tiring to try to do. Okay, you're right. Sen herself had said that she intended to have Kimigiku examine things further. I'm sure everything will work out. I carried a lingering suspicion that his confident words were only a facade for my sake, but I had no desire to belittle him during what was, I'm sure, a challenging dilemma to comfort. Yeah, the moment you give up, you lose everything. His bravery was all a front. Of this, I felt certain. Hesuke would be fine. Or so I had desperately hoped. And and Hesuke's fit. It says, make him endure it. Oh. Yeah. Perhaps the cruelest option was to let him endure this torment until it passed. So I stood idly, unable to say a thing about it to his face, but... Hesuke dug his fingernails into his throat, scratching madly at his skin as he screamed his lungs out. For many more times would Hesuke have to suffer this great fate. How many more times would I have to watch Hesuke writhe in unfathomable pain like this? Hesuke had nothing left to tell him, so all I could do was continue to softly rub the small of his back. A few days later, to mitigate rising tensions from the Imperial Army, the Shinsengumi became the Kyoyo Regulatory Company, a rebrand to protect the group from needless provocation. This renaming came before the order of the Shogunate, Kofu Castle, Fury Corps, Stay Behind, First Ever Battle, Veterans, blah blah. This is the first time our men have been since the other battle. On one of the nights leading up to our departure, Hijikata summoned me to join the men in the hall, so I finished my chores and made my way there. As I walked closer to it, I heard the buzz of growing commotion on the other side of the sliding doors. Hey, don't you think this looks a little weird on me? Blah blah blah. Okay, that's not where it divulges. Okay. New uniform.
ごちゃごちゃうるせえな。そんなもん一日も10まそうかよ。なんか言ったか。でな甲府での戦い。どんだけ戦兵戦。
Okay.
戦で勝たんこのなるほどまあそうだよ負けるとしてもできるだけこっちお前らまずあつお前はここにいろさっきま俺だ別にお前の力を疑うしかも江戸市中に通じそよこと今日
Son murders. Blah blah blah. I was alone in my room arranging my bedding on the night when everyone else had left for Kofu already. Footsteps creaked from the other side of my door. Whose footsteps could they have been? My curiosity began to get the better of me. I peeked my head out the door, and I walked down the hall in the direction of where I'd heard the steps. As I made my way outside of the compounds, I heard... Okay. Hesuke quietly waved me over to join him, and I scurried over to hide where he had been sitting. Hesuke, what are you doing here? Some of the Furies were acting a little strangely, so I decided to check up on what they were up to, which led me to hiding here next to you. Wait, so those footsteps I heard earlier were from the men of the Fury Corps? Yeah, seems like they're on their way out. What's Sonnen up to? I last checked, he was reading in his bedroom. Does that mean they're acting independently? Like maybe he had nothing to do with this? Too early to tell. First things first, we gotta figure out what the hell they're doing out in the city. And blah 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 blah. After 10 minutes, we'd reached a stop when a blood-curdling scream shrieked in the distance, followed by the grisly sound of flesh being split open. Oh no, it meant... Hurry, Kanai! Sprang after Hesuke, who'd burst into a run. By the time we arrived at the scene, it was too late. A lucrid scattering of ripped flesh and limbs was sprawled across the blood-soaked street. Two ghastly furies clad in white hair and a thick coat of blood sadistically stabbed into the bodies of corpses lying helplessly along the stained pathway. With each horrific stab at their swords came the repulsive splatter of blood upon their mad faces. Despite Hijikata's warning that the victims were often left disfigured beyond recognition, one thing was clear. They were not soldiers. They were ordinary people. Bastards, all this just to drink blood. They weren't even criminals or rodent outlaws, but people. You bastards kill normal people. I watched Hesuke's right fist trembled fiercely. Couldn't blame him. It was difficult to see his comrades resort to such abject depravity, becoming murderers to satiate their never-ending thirst for human blood. When the Furies turned to face Hesuke, his blood-stained lips curled into a warped smirk. Madness, it seemed, had consumed them, leaving no trace of sanity behind their red, glowing eyes. All that remained was a primal urge festering within them to kill and drink the blood of their targets. They're past the point of no return. The blood's wiped their minds completely. I can't let them live. With shaky hands, Hesuke unsheathed his sword, biting his lips nervously as he barked out at me. Kanai, hide over there! Don't come out till I say so. But Hesuke! Got it? Hesuke's bark was fast approaching a bite, and I made myself hidden as he ordered me to, but would he really be okay? Could he take on 2 of the Fury Corps by himself? Men that, up until today, had eaten, slept, and served alongside him nobly as his allies? When the Furies broke into a maniacal cackle, then he leapt from the ground and lunged at Hesuke's throat. Hesuke nimbly evaded the Fury's strike, watching the path of its movements with relaxed ease. The Fury turned on its heel and slipped a little, giving Hesuke the opportunity to make his move. Hesuke kicked the ground and thrust his sword into the Fury's sternum, producing a gush of blood. The Fury yelped in pain and took a step back. It seemed Hesuke's blade hadn't pierced through any of its vital organs, so it still had the chance to heal, before Hesuke could catch his breath. The other Fury, who had been waiting for the opportune moment to pounce, charged at Hesuke. Hesuke swung his sword to parry the oncoming attack, but he hadn't caught it fast enough. Blade caught his shoulder, tearing a wide cut into his flesh that spewed a stream of blood into the air. Watch out, Hesuke! Helplessly standing off to the side made me cringe, so I jumped out to distract Hesuke's rabid combatants. I was well aware that my swordsmanship was nowhere near enough to take on a Fury in battle, but if I was able to provide even the slightest bit of cover for Hesuke, it would be worth it. Took a deep breath to ensure myself of my resolve, and I unsheathed my kodachi from its scabbard. Not a second later, after I made myself visible, I drove my kodachi into the arm of the Fury, attacking Hesuke, making it vulnerable to a second attack. Wait, I told you to stay put! But Hesuke, you would've... Watch out, duck! Huh? Before I had the chance to look over my shoulder, I heard the metallic hiss of a sword before it pierced into my chest. Suddenly, my breathing was strained. Kanai! I heard my name being desperately called out to me, but the voice felt as though it were miles away. Kanai, are you alright? Kanai! Then, the sensation of being lifted up came from under me as my arms and legs became limp. My eyes were unable to focus on anything, which made it difficult to make out Hesuke's face as I struggled to see through the haze. Hey, wake up, please! Kanai! I'm so sorry, Hesuke. I don't know if we'll be able to see each other anymore. Nice! Okay, that was chapter 1. Chapter 2. Romance low, corruption high. Time to go through this chapter now. And these two are leaving. Kofu was failure. Kondo was being stupid. Hesuke is not gonna go with them. Boop boop boop. Meow. Above sun's Hesuke woke from slumber. Oops. I want to make sure I did the right one. Ah! Staring deeply into them made my chest tighten for some reason, like my heart had been beating twice as fast. Surely the person Hesuke had been worried about was... Okay, so I did hit the right one. Good. That person you're worried about is... Is it Sunin? Huh? His face! Hesuke jumped, seemingly startled by the question I had posed. Oh, so it's not him? I mean, aside from Sunin, I have no idea whom you could be worried about. Oh, yeah, no, you got it. It's Sunin I've been worried about. Oh no! I don't like this. Wait, really? But you just... well, I mean, I'm just in shock that you guessed right on the first try. You got me. Man, are you psychic or something? I don't like this. Because before it was me and it was like, oh yeah, but now he's like flat out denying it. Not that I'm aware of. Judging by Hesuke's reaction when I uttered Sonin's name, I assumed that his attempt to reassure me was all a big ruse. Maybe I guessed incorrectly, but I had difficulty thinking of anyone it could have been. Say, any idea what Sonin's been up to? Nope, and then he goes through another fit. And... Chapter 2, make him endure it. Although his bloodlust was sure to subside if I had only offered him my blood, we were unsure of what effect it would have on his body, wondering if giving him blood would exuberate the frequency or the severity of his symptoms. Erring on the side of caution, all we could do was wait. Hesuke, hold on tight! Without any reasonable options available to us, I placed my hand on the small of his back in the hope that the pain would soon cease. Damn it! How much more of this shit do I have to take? If only I could switch places with him. A futile wish, of course, but true nonetheless. For now, I could only continue to rub his back, keeping him company until the agony subsided. Shinsen-gun were preparing to depart for Edo, passing through Nagayama to arrive eventually in Aizu. News came not too long after the departure. I too did my part before it came time to leave. Oh, hey Kanari, going somewhere? Yes, I know, so we were short on medical supplies in our stock of medicine. So I wanted to fetch some before we moved to Nagayama. Oh, I gotcha. Well, why don't I tag along with you? What? I mean, are you sure? Hell yeah, even if I'm stuck around here. Besides, now that Hachika's here, I don't think Sonin will be up to any business. Gotta go out. And making the rounds at the shops, we'd finally amassed what we needed to for medical stock, and we leisurely strolled back towards the compounds. Commotion rumbled on the other side of the street with blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Escape blurred out. Oh shit, Kanai, let's hide. Okay. See Ryonosuke, Ibuki, a girl. Go through this part. Visitors come looking for you. They said they wanted to ask you something. Visitor, which I think was Sen? Oh, Kimigiku. Sen is missing. Letter was sent to Sen. That wasn't me. Try looking around everywhere for them. Can't find them. Miki goes off by herself. We go back to the state, if that's what you want to call it. As we made our arrival, Hesky blurted aloud. Hey, Kanai, look! Look who's standing over there. I glanced in the direction of which Hesky was pointing, and lo and behold, there stood Sen and Sonin. The two of them appeared to be engaged in a heated argument, but it was difficult for us to overhear them. Wonder what they're talking about. Let's get a little closer. Okay. Tiptoed. And then Sonin took this point to do weird things. As Sen was caught in a violent coughing fit, I saw thick red beads drip from out of her mouth. Was that blood? Oh no. Please, anything but that. Sonin turned to face us. Was plastered across his face with a mischievous grin that made my hair stand. Oh, Todo and Yukimura. How splendid of you to join us. Taking a late night stroll, I see. Or have you come to witness the true marvel for yourselves? Of what, you may ask? Why, the marvel of watching her turn into a fury. Did you say a fury? Sana, don't tell me she's drank the water of... No, no need to leap to any conclusions. What you claim is slightly inaccurate. The water of life is no longer necessary for my purposes. Now, the blood that courses through my veins has the very same potency as the water of life. Offering my blood to humans has resulted in effects beyond my wildest imagination. Not only do they become furies, but they also heed my every waking order. What did you say? I am no longer a mere fury. I am unfettered by the petty restrictions of human society, drinking blood whenever I wish. As a result, I have grown more powerful than any fury before me. I had no idea whether or not Sonin had been telling the truth, but behind his nefarious eyes was an insanity that I had never seen in my previous encounter with a fury. Sen, stay strong! I tried sprinting over to Sen in an effort to check up on her, but Sonin had other ideas. If you think I am going to let you simply walk up and touch her, you're sorely mistaken. A bright, steady future as the queen of our Fury Kingdom awaits her. There's nothing you can do to stop it. A Fury Kingdom? Indeed. Behold, even one of the strongest, most pure-blooded demons succumbed to my will. I brought her to her knees. Her mere existence would bring to light the sheer power of the Furies beyond anything that words could describe. He did what? Sonin, don't tell me you've tainted Sen for the selfish reason for trying to prove how powerful Furies are. You believe my reasons to be selfish, do you? Our kind will soon surpass both humans and demons alike. Soon we will conquer the country with our new empire. Tell me, does a nobler cause exist? Sonnen, have you gone mad? Quite the contrary. In fact, I'm pretty sane. I find it unsurprising the two of you would voice your concern so petulantly. Hesuke unsheathed his katana out of frustration. The blade trembled in its shaky hands. There's not a chance we're gonna let you get away with that. I'll stop you, even if I have to kill you. Plan on stopping me, do you? I'd always taken you for a fool, Toto, but boy, if I hadn't thought it possible for you to take it one step further. Here you are. Defeating you with my blade seems too easy a proposition. However, since I have the opportunity, why don't I show you how powerful a pure-blooded demon could truly be with the proper guidance? Time for you to shine, my dear. See to it that their end is swift. Sonnen smirked cruelly, eyeing Zen as he barked his sadistic command. However, her pose shifted, dramatically in response to his call, then. Zen instinctively unsheathed the sword on her waist. Her eyes were glossy and unfocused, similar to the same lifeless stare worn by other Furies, making it difficult to gauge whether or not she was conscious. One thing was clear, her sanity has suffered. So, how do you plan to proceed? If you have any intention of touching me, then you will first have to kill her. What a terrible dilemma. That's not fair, Sonnen. You've taken her hostage. Hesuke shifted his feet, readying himself to attack. However, he seemed rooted, seemingly incapable of lunging aggressively at Sen. Sonnen's playful taunts served their purpose, casting a threat of doubt in Hesuke. She kicked at the floor, thundering towards Hesuke. Her movements were so fluid, gliding across the ground as if it were a freshly frozen lake. Though Hesuke was no pushover, Sen's newfound strength caught him off guard. Like a master of swordsmanship, she weaved around him effortlessly and closed the distance in seconds. At this rate, Hesuke was likely to be subdued. Sen, it's me! Please snap out of it! Sen's hollow eyes all of a sudden grew very wide. Maybe, just maybe I could get through to her. Sen, do you recognize me? Remember our first conversation? Remember how you told me you thought my last name was pretty? You're Kanai. Oh yes, Sen, that's me! A feeling of overwhelming relief came over me. She had lost her sense of self completely. How fleeting that happiness turned out to be, as the burn of cold steel pierced through my chest. Suddenly, I struggled to form coherent words. I could form the shape of her name with my lips, but no sound came out. Instead, all that escaped my mouth was a pungent, frothy wad of blood. My vision blurred, and soon my entire body became numb. The only thing my ears could make out was... Kanai! Kanai! A cackling laughter, and the faint sound of Hesuke crying out my name. I'm so sorry, Hesuke. All I wanted was to be with you. Cool. Alrighty, chapter 2, Sen kills you. Cool. Gonna go chapter 3. Low romance, high corruption. And 3, 2, 1, go! Whee! Offered a place to stay. And Hesuke is assigned with going after Sonnen after finding out about him. Wanting to make a Fury Kingdom, blah blah blah. And Sendai. Hesuke wants to go by himself, but we're like, wait! Then we ask Hijikata for permission to go with him. Heard a scream and rushed to slide his door open. There he was. He was tucked into a ball, leaning his back against the wall as he clawed at himself in desperation. Make him endure. Was Hesuke resigned to this fate? Suffering pain until his limbs curled to themselves? How much more torture could one person handle? Tearing apart every fiber of their being. A question frustratingly that had no immediate answer. Hesuke? Hang in there, Hesuke! I watched his face scrunch desperately, and I could do nothing but watch, praying for this to subside. After what felt like an eternity, Hesuke's seizure finally seemed to have calmed itself. Tell Hesuke we're going with him. Oops. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Is that right? No, it was not. Okay. You don't truly mean that, do you, Hesuke? That negative attitude won't do you any good when it comes time to fight Sannin. So please, calm down. The truth is, I've got no intention of giving up on neither you nor Sen until everything's said and done. Kunai. Hesuke fidgeted uncomfortably, creating a painful silence between the two of us for a moment. Until he finally offered his timid mumbled response. Sorry, maybe I've been a little too weak-hearted lately. You're right, there's no way you could just leave your friend, right? Alright, we're gonna go save Princess Sen together. I'm kinda in debt to her anyways. As for what happens afterwards, so try not to think about it too much. Hesuke. Later that evening, Hesuke and I made our departure from Aizu. We were careful to avoid detection, sneaking out quietly down the forested trail to approach the border between Aizu and the Sendai domains. There we encountered the last person I expected us to see. Kazuma. Telling us stuff. Here he's come. Mikiku comes and saves him. And continuing on, continuing on. Hit the castle once more. Kimikiku leaves. His golden eyes turned towards a glaring in the distance, which had been completely enveloped by thick impenetrable darkness. As all of us paused, holding our breaths, with the crescendo of approaching footsteps hit our ears. Was this another fury, or is anyone out here? That voice, Sen? The silhouette emerging from the darkness was becoming clearer as I called out to whom I believed it to be. Kanae! What are you doing all the way out here? It is you, Sen! Oh, thank goodness you're safe! Her kimono was filthy with mud and soot, like she had been wandering around the barren muck for hours. I suspected that somewhere she managed to escape, blindly traversing the mountainous path all by herself. With each of her steps, my relief soared until no one stepped closer. Kazuma's startling command halted Sen in her tracks. What? Weren't you supposed to be locked up in the Sendai castle? Sen, your bodyguard, was just there. Yes, in fact, I was. What a terrifying endeavor. I slipped past the guards and ran for my life. By yourself. So surprised? I am a demon, you know. Sen smirked playfully, which was a welcome sight given our fervent concern for her well-being. But rather conspicuously, her sanity was intact. Neither Hesuke nor Kazuma lowered his guard, slowly taking backward steps to keep their distance. Just then... What's wrong, Hesuke? I attempted to look at what drew his attention when I reflexively cupped my hands around my mouth to prevent from screaming in terror. Oh, that's nice. Suddenly, the eerie darkness was peppered with pairs of tiny crimson eyes. 2 by 2, their ominous gaze appeared in chilling fashion, lurking from all corners, atop tree branches and hid behind tall looming bushes. The haunting glow of their bloodthirsty eyes made my knees vigorously shiver. Where I made to guess, looks like there was 10. No, there were more. Double that. 20. Sen, this is... They're after me. Please, Kanae, save me. Blood. Oh, I need blood. As the Furies sauntered towards us menacingly, they gleefully licked their lips. They were inspective gazes, sizing up their next meal. Hesuke! Kazuma! Damn you, Sanin. They're manipulating, they're multiplying left and right. Taking on this many at once will keep us busy the whole night. An astute observation, boy. Out of the goodness of my own heart, be thankful I'm here to save you. Yeah, right, over my dead body! Hesuke rashly charged at the group of Furies, his cries echoing into the surrounding darkness. Multiply while you can, you vile bastards. Fade my sword with your corrupt flesh, you fakes. Although they were completely outnumbered, they were amateurs compared to Hesuke and Kazuma, who kicked up a gust with every bone-snapping swing of their sword. Hesuke held his own, drop-kicking a Fury in the chest before bearing his sword into its heart. Behind him fought Kazuma, effortlessly weaving around his victims. Just then, Kanae. Just as I thought they were killing off the Furies in exceptional time, Sen suddenly appeared by my side. I still harbored suspicions as to whether or not she could be trusted, but I lowered my guard. Don't worry, Sen. I'm sure they'll take care of everything, so She hadn't seemed worried at all. Her mouth perked up into an unsettling smirk that chilled me to my core. And then, Sen dashed before me, slapping one hand across my mouth and gagging me silent. Then, through her fingers, she slipped a vial of bitter liquid into my covered mouth, forcing me to swallow. What is this? What just happened? Come with me, Kanae. You and I, together, we shall create an idyllic paradise, full of beings that surpass both the humans, demons, and fairies alike. We will shape the future of this kingdom, found an unbreakable legacy for ourselves for generations. Numbness trickled down each of my limbs. All of a sudden, I had no control of my muscles. I dropped to the floor, gazing into Sen's blank eyes as they loomed fuzzily above me. And getting turned into a fury. Nice. Alrighty. Well, got one more bad ending to do. And that's for chapter 4, the last chapter. Gosh darn, man. Romance low, corruption high. Chapter 4, start. And we and make him endure it. Seems to be the pattern. Not even words of consolation could save him now. I bit my tongue to spare him the pity. I heard a silent prayer, hoping that Hesuke would come out of this episode alive. Saliva frothed from his mouth, producing an incoherent babble as he cried out in misery. His shrieks were harsh, like a wild boar catching the scent of its slaughtered kin. Hesuke! He ferociously scratched at his chest, breaking into the skin and releasing an ooze of blood that seeped underneath his deep, dirty fingernails. Blood! Damn it! No! I can't drink blood. He dug his teeth into his lip, again drawing blood. I grew horrified and watching Hesuke literally tear himself apart, wondering how much more he'd take. His limit was undoubtedly fast approaching. Please, Hesuke, make it through this. If only I'd given you blood. These thoughts circled like clockwork in my mind as I searched for any distinction to comfort myself. Oops. I am hitting all the wrong buttons. That's what I get for being too fast. And you're doing what you can to survive. Kazuma. Going in, blah, 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 blah. Going into the room. Cousin behind, Sen, blah blah. Unfazed, Sen. Oop. Kazuma collapsed to his knees, his eyes glowing with enmity towards the woman who deceived him. There stood Sen with white hair and a pair of radiant golden eyes. In her hand, she held an ornate dagger stained with a film of crimson, along with its sharp blade. Be the gatekeeper, blah blah. I rushed over to Sen. Sen, are you okay? Huh? Suddenly, Sen looked up, stopping herself from lapping up the blood splattered on her palms. Princess, it's me. Do you recognize me? Kunai. Her pupils undilated, regaining some sense of to self. This blood! It seemed Kimigiku and I got through to her. Or maybe somehow, Kazuma's blood worked to counteract the effects of the water of life. Sen no longer had a deranged look on her face. She touched her cheeks in surprise. That's right, He forced me into drinking his blood. Sen, hang in there! Her eyes flickered between sanity and insanity, as if she was fighting an internal battle to regain control of her body. Which meant that it wasn't over yet. That Sen hadn't completely exorcised the evil festering inside her heart. Through ragged, painful breaths, she spoke, albeit somehow retaining her air of refinement. Kiku. No. Kimigiku. As the princess of Yase village, I command you this instant. Princess? Kimigiku hurriedly straightened her back, like a well-trained dog beckoning to its master. However, Sen's order caught me by surprise, and I cut my mouth in horror. Please take my life while you still have the option. What? What are you saying, Sen? As clear as day. I mean exactly what I say. The fear he planned has ensnared me, dominating my every waking move. As a demon, I have failed. At this rate, I am nothing more than a threat to each of you. But just look at you. You're speaking to us normally. Everything will be fine. Sweat glistened on Sen's face, and she eked a smile out of pity. I've done and convinced you, haven't I? The struggle in Sen's face was palpable, and it took every bit of strength she had to suppress the murderous instincts bubbling underneath. She reached her hand into her pocket, pulling from it a ceremonial dagger that she handed to Kimigiku. I apologize for burdening you with a heavy task, Kiku. Kimigiku's eyelashes fluttered as she held the dagger loosely in her hand. No need. The apology should come from me. There are no words to properly express my grief. I have failed to keep you safe, and now I must take your life. Forgive me, Princess. It won't be long until I join you in the next life. Sorry. Sen slowly lowered her arms, trembling nervously at her side. She took a deep breath in anticipation. I can only restrain myself for a second longer. But please do it! Wait, Kimigiku! Sen is still... Kiku... Sen's expression drops suddenly. Her eyes shine widely with madness. Hurry up. Let me taste you. She attempted to pry the dagger from Kimigiku's hands when... A splatter of blood splashed upwards, forming into the shape of petal blossoms cascading in mid-air. Rather than Kimigiku or myself, it was Sen who seemed the most confused. Huh? Huh? What? What's happening to me? She swung the dagger around hysterically. No! No! Another splash of crimson-colored blood petals danced above us before spilling onto the floor. No! Stop! This... No! I don't want this! Her body and mind were at odds with one another. Her mind attempted to reclaim itself, while her body thrashed about with the dagger in hand. Kiku, good night. Tears streamed down her face, but her lips formed into a sadistic grin. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She apologized profusely, though she continued to stab us with wild ambition, pushing and pulling the dagger into our flesh uncontrollably. Soon, the grueling pain of the dagger went numb, and I almost pitied Sen, reaching to touch her cheeks. Sorry. Good night. I'm sorry too, Sen. I just have no control of myself. You couldn't kill me in time. Forgive me for not killing you fast enough. These were my last moments, it seemed. After a while, I went completely numb. My vision grew hazy, only making her teardrops falling into the pool of blood spurting from my chest. If only there was a way to save her. Cool. Cool. Man, all those bad ends are like the bad end for chapter 4 is way more gruesome than I was expecting. Oops. So that should. Yep, that unlocked everything. Well. This is still my favorite because of Kazuma's face. Oh my god. Cool. Whoops. I didn't mean to do that. That was not what I meant to do. Go back. Yes. It's not what I meant to hit. Man. Since I accidentally skipped through this, I will be right back as this plays.
葉にすればほんのひとひらのことの葉ひとりつぶやいてほこそめる庭先のもみじの色に不意に気配を感じて振り向けばそこに佇むあなた来たのですか思わず恥ずかしさに逃げる私を追って抱きしめた愛おしきあなたよ愛しています抑えてたのに溢れ出した言葉は命の恋歌生きてください祈るがごとく強くささやく誠の恋をしたきっと一生一度命をかけて誠の恋は
Man, that was great. Because of the fact we finished early, see if there's anyone we can raid. See. We haven't raided Cody Shibi in a while. Let's go ahead and raid him. So Cody Shibi actually does a lot of monster images, so we're gonna go ahead and raid him. No, let's go ahead and raid. Let's go ahead and raid Nintendo Capri Sun. He's very funny, actually. So, thank you all so much for coming, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!